Mr. Newcomer, Mr. Garvin will not be here tonight.
Workshop at 7 p.m., which is actually a little late today. That's okay. Then we'll run through our workshop, and then we'll start the regular meeting. I'm going to start with the mayor's statement. Notice this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the agenda on the bulletin board at the municipal complex, flying a copy of the agenda in the office of the township clerk at the municipal complex, forwarding a copy of the agenda to the Belmont County Times and Carrier Post, forwarding written notice to each person who has requested copies of the regular meeting schedule. All of the above posting filings and lines have taken place on the first day of August 2014. And well, I guess we'll go right to our workshop. So Scott, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's only a couple things on the agenda for this evening, and then we'll have time to get to public comment before going into the regular session. I do want to just clarify one scheduling change, one scheduling item. As everybody in front of them that has a copy of the agenda, it does say amended. And just to clarify, I had invited Mazer Consulting to come in to speak to council and public about what it is they could do, but with Mr. Garwood and Mr. Newcomer not coming to the meeting tonight, I know that both of them had a lot of questions they wanted to be answered. There was no rush to have them in, so we decided to postpone that to a future date. And just to also clarify one more thing, because the resolution appointing them, if that does pass, what will happen, because I have received some questions from residents. I just want to make sure people understand the way it typically works with any of our engineering consultants, whether it's Alimo as our general engineer, R&B as our utility engineer. Typically, the engineering firm gets an appointment, and then when there's a large job, a large project for them to work on, they provide me with a proposal, which includes a not-to-exceed budget. Mr. Michelle makes sure that there's money there. Sometimes there are projects that require bond ordinances, say like a road program. We're not clearly at that stage right now. So if and when any consultant for solar is going to do work, they would provide me, and which I would provide council with a proposal that would get approved at a council meeting, and then we'd be able to move forward at that point. But we are at the infancy of this whole process.
Gotcha. Right.
The next thing on the agenda I wanted to discuss was the David Gentile Park dedication. Teresa did follow up with the Recreation Advisory Committee after the last meeting. They are not meeting again to the second week in September, at which time they will come up with a recommendation of a feature in Maple Dawson Park to name and dedication memorial after Mr. Gentile. Okay. And then present that to council at the subsequent meeting. That's actually all I have for the workshop this evening. One more quick follow-up, because Victoria did ask about it today, and unfortunately, there's still more information to gather, but there may be we talked about the Jeff Gunn hockey rink last meeting. A potential third option has come up of us obtaining a donated dashboard system used.
Okay.
So I want Scott Taylor to physically take a look at it to see the condition and see how we would be able to set up and make sure that it could work, but that could become a third and perhaps our best option after replacing the Jeff Gunn hockey rink.
All right. All right, we'll open up the floor to resident requests and presentations. This is for items not listed on the agenda. Once more, state your name, and please, we would appreciate if your comments are concise. Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Marian Tony, that's in Delaware, Morristown, New Jersey. I have two questions. First, I received a phone call from the Burlington County freeholders saying that, and I listened to the ongoing conference call, and they are proposing that they purchase electricity as a community, and then give it to each township. I was wondering if that's something that we are investigating and where we are at this point, especially since we're talking about solar energy. That's number one.
Sure. I'll provide you an answer. I actually attended a workshop given by the county freeholders several weeks ago. It's called energy aggregation,
Right.
and it's purchased in a block. In the township, there are certain benefits to it, and we plan on having the county and their representatives and their consultant come in. I'm not sure when the meeting. I'm not sure which meeting. It'll probably be one of the meetings in September. It could be the next meeting in August, to come in and explain it to us and the public exactly what it is, answer our questions, and then just put it out there for a discussion.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we're
Because it seemed like a win-win situation. Now, I'm not sure, but that's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing is, I want to thank you for this wonderful building. The library is absolutely magnificent. This building is magnificent, and I want to thank you for that. And then I have a question about where do the steps lead? And when will we be able to use the steps?
The steps lead to our second floor offices. There's two other staircases that are not nearly as attractive as those stairs, as well as an elevator. What had happened with those stairs, and I'm surprised this is the first question we've received after 4 or 5 meetings here, and looking at the caution tape during the meeting. But the stairs, according to the Uniform Construction Code, which governs virtually every facet of the construction project, when you have a staircase in a public setting like that, the depth of each stair and the shape of each stair has to be uniform, unless it is considered a landing. And a landing, I believe, has to be a minimum of 36 inches deep. And if you look at the stairs, the bottom 3 stairs are rounded, everything above that squared off. So the third stair up is a depth of about 8 inches deeper than the steps above it. Is it likely that someone would get hurt on it? No, but the construction office has to follow the code as they interpret it. So it's an unfortunate situation. The architect who designed it has come up with an alternate plan which squares the stairs off. We're still working on that. We're still waiting on some costs and things like that.
Okay, that was my next question. Are we going to assume that cost, or is it going to be assumed by the architect who made a mistake?
That's a discussion that we will have.
Right.
That I would prefer not to have to make, because he's not here to speak for himself. He typically does come to the meetings, but perhaps at the next meeting or the meeting after that, both Mr. Reagan and Mr. Notley, who's the project manager, will come and participate in that conversation. Certainly, an option is to put this all on the architect.
Okay, so then there are other options to get to the second floor,
Yes.
and the second floor is being utilized?
Absolutely.
Okay. I have one other thing, but I can't remember off the bat.
All right. portion?
I have something else. Wait, I have something else.
Okay, yeah. Is she the steering again, or?
Mary Ann Catone.
That's fine.
I live again in Greendale, and my question is, how often are the trees cut around the light fixtures that light the streets? Because right now, it's almost impossible to see my driveway and the light. So is that frequently done? Is it done as a need basis? When people come and report it? What is the normal?
I think there's a couple different answers. If you're talking about trees, say on Main Street, that are close to the light poles, I think they're probably on a set schedule. With all the roads in town, I think we have 70 miles of linear miles of public roads in town. It would be hard to put all of that on a schedule, so I'm assuming Public Works handles that based on residents like yourself bringing it to our attention. So I will absolutely. 150.
150 miles.
I'm
Okay.
only counting half the size.
Half the sidewalks.
All right.
But in any case, I will absolutely bring it. You said 11 Greenville?
And then I have another question. I love the, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
First meeting,
Yeah.
come with lots of questions. Is there in the budget some gardening for this building? Because I'm beginning to see that some things are beginning to get overgrown. So is that in the budget, or is that something that we thought of ahead of time?
Well, there's a couple different facets to that as well. Public Works has been maintaining the sodded areas of grass since the contractor did the first cut. However, there are a lot of landscape features on the site that we have not taken responsibility from the contractor, which we won't until the full certificate of occupancy is received by us. There are certainly issues in the dry water retention basin. There are some other issues around the site, and while general maintenance will be the responsibility of the township, and we are considering options next year between in-house and outsourcing certain parts of that maintenance, but there still is very important key components to the whole landscape plan that the project team does not feel that the contractor has done the job the way they were supposed to do it to our satisfaction. So,
Since we're talking about that, are you aware of what, at the library there are two permanent, four of them altogether, two permanent discs that have saying, one says Friends of the Library, and the other was put on by the builder. And you may want to look at that, because I don't know if we really want that out there.
are we talking outside or inside?
Outside.
You talking about the medallions?
Yeah, one says Friends of the Library, which is perfect, and the other one loosely translated is something like, let me see if I got it right. Anyway, you should look it up.
Well,
because
I was aware that there were several cases where an I, a Roman numeral 1,
No, it's not.
which was actually a actual number 1, which they have to change that.
Right, no, the builder, I believe, took the liberty to write something that he wanted out there. So I think you may want to look at that, because
I will look at that, because I was under the understanding that the library director
I don't
wrote
believe
those.
so. I don't believe so, because it looks like, to me, like the builder's, something like, I'm not going to quote it, but I don't believe it's what we,
Okay.
so I think it's something that you may want to look
Check
at.
it out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Jack Lance, 302 East Main Street.
Kara Shaw, 603 McKelvey Road. Elise Brown, 17 Leeds Road.
I brought these lovely ladies with me tonight just to explain to council, and we spoke with Scott earlier, and I think this week,
Last week.
last week, lost my leads. And it's just about a revenue generating committee that has been started by parents, by members of the school district. And what we're gonna hold, or what they're gonna hold, is an obstacle course it's an obstacle race for children. Karen and Elise could explain more into it, but it's a fundraiser for the schools who are deficit. So it's something that we're trying to come together. And the reason we're coming to council is not only for support and with Scott's help trying to publicize it, but also perhaps maybe some of the councilmen would like to come help us. We're looking for physical help as well. If you'd like to explain.
Sure, it's actually a fundraiser for the Morristown Township Public Schools. It is a Morristown Township Public School fundraiser. The Revenue Generation Committee includes Board of Education members, parent volunteers, MEA members, and we're trying to make it more of a community. A lot of local businesses are involved, so we'd really like to have town council involved, or in any way we could help, or you can help promote it, would be great as well.
Sure.
Registration's already on the MTPS website, so, we're just looking for
That's a
some
great thing.
support.
Thank you so much.
When is it?
Yeah, sorry, September 7th.
At the high school.
At the high school.
8:30 a.m.
So I've asked,
And there is a website that says that?
Yeah, if you go to mtps.com, there should be something you click on obstacle race. It's right there. The registration's already up and running.
And what you need from people is on it as well, what type of volunteers you need?
That's not, we're actually gonna send up a sign up genius
Oh, there you
to
go.
help with
Yeah.
that,
Okay,
but this is actually the sign up for the race is on MTPS.
all right, well,
Sunday morning?
It is.
That's a Sunday morning, yeah.
well, I see the gentleman from the patch back there, is he back there? Is that Mr. Miller? He's your guy to speak to, get it on the patch, and we'll certainly talk it up, and if I'm available on the 7th, I don't know if I'm gonna run it, that's what Mr. Lance is
You
getting
don't have to
at.
run it.
Just looking for help.
Yeah.
Yes, help.
And we'll have tables set up as well if you would like a table there. We're having vendors there, other nonprofits there as well with the tables.
That's great, thank you very much, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Thank you.
I told them we'll put it on our website, our Facebook page. Joe Galbraith and Teresa Miller will post flyers.
Yeah.
So we'll get help with the word out.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I had one more thing that mixes in with this.
Right on.
When I met with Scott, we actually saw Mr. Clifford, Pete Clifford, and we were just talking about, there's a banner issue, some poles that are down, and what's called, we don't even know what the reason is.
Apparently two separate accidents.
Yeah, the signs that hold the banners down Main Street, so we were trying to get a sign hung, but the schedule's packed up and the signs are down.
Yeah.
So the lawn signs, that always comes into mind next. And Pete was telling, I got an email, and Pete was telling me that there's an ordinance, and I didn't know if anybody knows of this, about lawn signs. I couldn't find anything. I didn't know if there is, the whole point I'm trying to get is, we don't want to spend our money, or valuable money, for lawn signs if they're going to be.
Take it down.
Exactly.
It will be if you don't follow the ordinance.
And that's why I couldn't find the ordinance.
Yeah. Well, a copy of the ordinance, I guess Pete can provide a copy of the
Yeah, I mean, I
ordinance.
emailed Pete, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming he'll just get
Yeah,
back to me.
yeah, and then there's municipal codes are online, all municipal codes are online.
Yeah, I couldn't find,
It's a site.
I didn't know, okay.
Yeah, follow through with it.
Yeah, I don't think, it's a fundraiser for school, but once again, I don't want to lose.
I don't blame you. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you. Yep.
And I'd just like to throw in that I appreciate Mr. Land's caring about the ordinance, because most people just put the signs up.
Well, we don't, we
And let
want
people
right.
There's a lot of lawn signs around, so it's kind of curious there's an ordinance about it. Thank you, okay. Any other residents? Seeing none, we'll close that portion, and we'll move into our official action.
No. 7:34.
Okay. We're going to move into our official action meeting, folks. We're going to start with the moment of silence, followed by flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with reports by members of council, and I'll start with Victoria.
Well, the one thing I had to report today is, we mentioned in a previous meeting that a letter had been sent by the mayor to the Burlington County Bridge Commission regarding, seeking assistance with some projects that have been identified and talked about with the Linola Advisory Commission, and very pleased to announce that the Burlington Bridge Commission has offered us some grant writing services. So we'll have a grant writer that will be working with us over the next year. A lot of grants for this year are already closed, but we'll start now to start identifying different programs that we could be eligible for over the next year, so we can get some projects done out of that commission. So
That's great. Great. No, much to say to that. So how about you, Stacy?
Just one thing, the tree committee, we got together last month and brainstormed about putting trees in Morristown. There's a grant that was available through the state of New Jersey, the New Jersey Tree Foundation, and John Gibson, along with myself, and Kathy Goldenberg from the Board of Ed got together and we identified the roadway between Bridgeboro and Westfield. It's really where the empty fields are, or where the lacrosse fields are for the high school. And we decided that was a great place to put trees, and we were picked out of all the applications to get those. So we're going to be planting 10 trees very shortly, I think in September. I think it's in September. But that will be great, and it's going to be a group effort with STEM and with the tree committee and any other volunteers helping get the trees planted. But I just thought that was something. 10 free trees.
Wow, that's great. That's great, Stacy. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just follow up on Deputy Mayor Jordan's report real quick, because one of the things that her and I, John Gibson and I, Ken Ewers and I have been discussing for quite some time now, is the planting of municipal trees on county roadways. There is concerns that Public Works has, not just Ken, but Brian, our tree expert, about ongoing maintenance and liability responsibility. I did finally hear back from Joe Brickley, who's the county engineer, last Thursday, that at first he thought that they would be able to sign an agreement taking the liability responsibility away from us. But apparently that is not the case. So they will allow us to plant trees on county roads. However, those trees will forever be township responsibility, township liability. So I'm not asking council to give me direction on that today. I'm sort of putting it out there for you guys to think about. And perhaps at a relatively near future meeting, we can discuss it in a workshop to see if that is something. Because we basically asked council to sign an agreement with them. And then there would be a process where we would GPS the locations we want to plant them. They get approved by the county, and we would put the trees up.
All right, so that was gonna be my question, is how do we tell one of their trees, one of our trees? I can just see
Then all
the
be GPS
inevitable
mapped.
confusion.
Yes.
That's great. Great.
And it's like kind of written on it.
I knew it. All right, as far, Stacy, anything further?
No.
Okay, the only thing I touched on is we do plan on having the county come in at a future meeting. I don't know if it'll be the next meeting in August or it'll be the meeting in September to discuss the energy aggregation plan, which has the potential to save our residents money on their energy bill by buying it through the other municipalities through the county. So it's something that we're going to be looking into over the next few weeks. Segueing in upcoming meetings, our upcoming meetings will be take place here at the municipal complex, 111 West 2nd Street. The next meeting is August 18th, 2014 at 7 p.m., followed by a meeting on September 8th, 2014 at 7 p.m. Does anybody have any agenda updates? Seeing none, we'll go to adoption of the consent agenda resolution. Yes.
Second.
Can I ask you this? Roll call.
All in favor?
All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or nays? None. Okay. We do not have any presentations or proclamations, and we do not have any ordinances on second reading, so we'll go to ordinance on first reading. Scott, if you will.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. The ordinances for first reading tonight are all the introduction of bond ordinances for capital budget program, projects rather, for the 2014 capital budget program. The first on the list is number 5-2014, an ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $925,000 and authorizing the issuance of $878,750, in bonds or notes of the township to be used for the 2015 road resurfacing program. 6-2014 is a bond ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $330,000 and authorizing the issuance of $313,500 in bonds or notes of the township to be used for the purchase of police vehicles and equipment, together with all related expenses. 7-2014 is an ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $330,000 and authorizing the issuance of $313,500 in bond notes of the township to be used for various drainage projects, together with all related expenses. 8-2014 is an ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $150,000 and authorizing the issuance of $142,000 for improvements to Wesley Bishop Park and Jeff Young Park. And I just would point out that that is just for preliminary engineering. The number we talked about in the capital budget workshops was $700,000, which encompassed everything. This is just to get the engineering done, so for, like I said, the projects at Jeff Young and Wesley Bishop. 9-2014 is an ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $65,000 and authorizing the issuance of $61,750 in bonds or notes of the township to be used for the replacement of the roof for Public Works building, including all related expenses. And 10-2014 is an ordinance of the Township of Morristown, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $1,700,000 and authorizing the issuance of $1,615,000 in bonds or notes of the township to be used for the replacement of various water mains, together with all related expenses.
Good. And I guess these items have all been, whether it's our budget or the utility budget, these have all been accounted for. These expenditures are all planned for.
Well, yes, and there were still a couple others that I believe were not on the list that were discussed that still will come up later.
Okay.
But what council has done so far, we've discussed everything on the capital budget list.
Right.
That's certainly that encompasses these bond ordinances. And council has approved and put into the 2014 budget enough money to pay for the down payment should council ultimately pass all these bond ordinances. The other comment I'll make is just to remind council and the public that two of the projects for the parks at Wesley Bishop Park specifically are projects that we are partnering with Lacrosse, actually Lacrosse and softball. And they have provided a verbal commitment to both you, Mr. Mayor, and myself to fully partner and pay for most, not all, of the cost associated with it. There was some infrastructure costs that the township was going to pick up.
Right.
But as we've always discussed, council will not be asked to do the final vote on this, to pass this bond ordinance, without something in writing from those two organizations.
And that's
I
coming.
have a written thing that will be coming. What I plan to do is meet with Mr. Taylor, Mr. Rudderman, and each organization to go over final details. We don't want any thing pop up to say, well, that wasn't what we expected. We expected something different, whether it be the project parameters itself or the cost. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Council, any questions on that? Okay. At this point, I would like to just ask for a motion to approve on the first reading. I'll set the public hearing date for August 18, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. How do we do a roll call?
Jordan?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano? Yes. Mayor Fiasco?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I will not be here on the 18th, so if council has any specific questions, if you could let me know before that meeting, so I can arrange for either Mr. Michelle or another staff member or professional to be present at the meeting to respond to questions.
All right, and make sure that Phil and Greg know that as well.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. All right, moving to our consent agenda resolutions. Mr. Manager, if you read those by title.
Certainly. First is 157-2014, authorizing the tax collector to refund tax overpayment. Next, we have 158-2014, a resolution authorizing the extension of the tax payment grace period for the third quarter from August 10th to August 29th, 2014. Next is 159-2014, adopting the Burlington County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan as the official plan of the Township of Morristown. Next is 160-2014, awarding a contract to Air Control Technology, Inc. in the amount of $47,616 for the Town Hall Rainwater Harvesting System. Next is 161-2014, appointing Richard Yeager to the Appearance Committee. Next is 162-2014, amending Resolution 2014 entitled, "A Resolution Setting the Annual Meeting Schedule of the Township Council of the Township of Morristown for 2014. Next is 163-2014, appointing Mazer Consulting PA as solar energy consultant. Next is 164-2014, declaring Paramount Enterprises, Inc. in default of its obligation to enter into contract number 2014-1, directing the filing of a claim on the contractor's bid bond and authorizing the re-advertisement for bids for the project. Next is 165-2014, approving plan and design for the rainwater harvesting system project. Next is 166-2014, approving plan and design for the Morristown Township Dam Repairs project. Next is 167-2014, approving plan and design for the ultraviolet disinfection replacement at the wastewater treatment plant project. Finally is 168-2014, approving plan and design for the North Church Street Water Treatment Plant Emergency Generator Installation project.
Okay. At this time, I'll open the floor for public comment regarding the consent agenda resolutions that Mr. Crew just read. If you have a comment or a question, please come forward, state your name, and Karen.
Monique Baker, 209 Parry Drive. I've just a question regarding number 7, 163, 2014. Should we appoint a consulting firm before we hear the presentation?
Well, quite frankly, I've read their resume, I've seen their qualifications. It's kind of like one of those things where we put the cart before the horse. I mean, we have to have somebody come in and do the presentation, and that's our consultant. So I believe we should appoint a consultant first before we have them come in and start with their preliminary presentation. And to that end, I support Mazer as I did before, and
Well, I think, Mrs. Begg, the council prior to the last meeting did receive various things from Mazer, including a full list of municipal solar projects, brownfield redevelopment projects that they've completed, plus resumes from engineers who would be working on the site. The presentation for tonight was going to be for two things. One, to allow them to introduce themselves to the public so everyone can understand what their qualifications were, but also to discuss what they would be doing. And I think this is a good opportunity to clear up a misconception that they would not be coming in and building us a solar farm.
Right.
What the town council needs to decide next is to whether or not they want to go forward with a project as proposed or suggested, I should say, by Sustainable Morristown, which specifically on the pulverizing site on New Albany Road. As has been discussed, that property is a former brownfield site, so it has what I guess we'll say is some baggage. The consultant will come in, and if appointed, the first step that they will do would be to provide me with a proposal that will lay out exactly the details of what they would do in that first step, which is ultimately giving council with enough information to make the decision. Do we want to go forward with building solar? Is it worth the investment? Is it worth taking on the responsibility, the liability, and everything else before we take control of the property, before we go out for RFP for a developer, solar developer, and things like that? They are serving as in an advisory capacity. They are not coming in as the actual developer. And I think that that's, and I'm not saying that you've suggested that, but that's sort of been some of the feedback I've received, and I just wanted to make sure people understand.
Well, you just have two council members who are not here tonight, so my own feeling is that it could be postponed till we have a presentation. Thank you.
Paul Cosmo, 443 North Church. How much is Mazer going to cost? Is that was a no bid, right? Is that right? There was no bid for this consultant.
That's right. It was a direct appointment.
Direct appointment, and that's because it's
But we
not that much
never go out for bids for professionals.
for professionals.
What we would do is if there was a specific project, which we don't have a specific project yet, but if we had one, let's say that everything worked out perfectly and the site worked out and the project was determined to be feasible and was going to benefit the whole township, the project would be engineered, and then we would go out to bid for a developer to actually construct the project. That would be a public bid.
Right, but not for,
Well, I think there's another thing to clarify. The appointment of Mason is related only to the qualifications to serve. They're not being awarded a contract. That's a different story. So if there's any.
Right, and they wouldn't.
Right, procurement that's related to that,
Right.
that would take place going forward.
Right, as I said before, if they were appointed, or any solar consultant was appointed, they would provide the township with a proposal saying, this is what we're going to do. Council then would approve, and we do that with Alima, as our general engineer, say with the road improvement program.
but they're not going to do that. They're going to just do like a feasibility or what is?
They won't do any work until a proposal is provided for and approved by this council. And that proposal will include a budget that has a not to exceed number.
And will they review the proposal, or what? I guess I'm confused about what exactly they're going to do, what they're doing.
Well, solar farms on brownfield sites sort of new territory for most of us. So I would not be being honest with you if I said I know exactly what it is they're going to do for us. Which is,
Let me clarify that too. We
Yeah.
know what they're going to do for us. They're going to evaluate
Right.
potential options
Right.
for what could be done.
So, but those options aren't there yet, is that right? No. And so we have to get the options for them to review?
Or they could bring some options to us that we haven't even considered.
or they can come to us and say, you know what, the project's not going to make any sense for us.
Right. But we had Sustainable Morristown come to us about a month ago, and they did a presentation, and they said, and they've been studying it for about a year, and they essentially said, we believe this is something you should pursue, and there's a possible gain, lots of gains. You can reduce your carbon footprint, you might be able to even pay for the power for all of your
It sounds like it's what he's looking at.
yeah, it's what, so, but what we needed, and then what was brought up at that same meeting was, it was recommended by Sustainable Morristown to hire a consultant to come in to take it and study the rest of the way, because they can only do so much as volunteers. Now we have to have, and they made a recommendation that we consider using the pole riser services site on Albany Road as the site for the solar array. That said, like Scott said, nobody on this council is an expert in that area, so we have to bring somebody in who we feel is an expert. And as an attorney, I can tell you, looking at Mazur's qualifications, they would probably be admitted in a court of law as an expert, given their experience in this area.
They have quite a resume.
What's that?
They have quite a resume.
They put it, and that's based on that. We're awarding them the contract to come look at solar, check. Excuse me, not the award contract. We're going to bring them in as a consultant to determine if what Sustainable Morristown said is valid. What are the possible hurdles?
So they're sort of building on what Sustainable wants.
Yes, exactly. That's correct.
Well,
Yes.
but how do we pay them? I mean, if they're a professional, doesn't there need to be something signed, et cetera?
Well, then, at the appropriate time, the council will take a look at what Mazur perhaps could do based on the work that's already been done. And then at the appropriate time, ask them for a proposal. They will give us a cost proposal. We'll evaluate that and then give them some direction as to what they could do and get a sense of what it would cost before they move.
But I think perhaps it might be easier for everyone to understand how this relationship will work by using another one of our consultants who we already are in that relationship with. Scott Taylor from Taylor Design Group was at our last meeting. Scott was appointed at reorg as the township's landscape architect and park planner, something thereabouts. Now, he gets that appointment. That appointment doesn't enable him to just go and do work carte blanche.
Right.
There are two ways that the consultants work for the township. There are funds in the budget for engineering and planning. It's not a lot. And so if there is a simple question that I need from Mr. Taylor, or I have a simple engineering question for Mr. Rudderman, who's our engineer, or I need them to attend a meeting, stuff like that is included in what is in the operating budget. If it's a large project, like Mr. Taylor working on the recreation projects that are in the capital budget, or Mr. Rudderman working on the road program or the dam program, then before council funds that, they provide us with a proposal that includes a budget. Council then says yay or nay to that proposal.
At a public meeting.
At a public meeting, and it's not unheard of that the professionals are told to go sharpen the pencil or take something out or add something in. So to answer the question of how much this is going to cost, I really can't answer that until they provide us with that proposal. And it may be that this happens quickly. It may be that this takes some time because council needs the budget for it next year.
I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting, so forgive me if I'm going over old ground here, but this proposal for the brownfield site versus what was done before, there was a study for solar done before. Yes. Are these two different things? Are they two different things? I mean, was there anything in the other proposal that would carry over?
There are certain things, but and as I remarked to one resident asked the same question, sure there are things from that study that would be useful for the investigative process that council's going through now. However, as you point out, number one, it's a different location. That was for the sewer treatment plant in Linoleum, a site that has no environmental issues, a site that we already have full ownership of. It also was completed between 4.5 and 4 years ago,
right,
when your subsidies from the state and federal government were different, the legislation was different. All these factors that change drastically the equations for the financial decision that council has to make going down the road. Is this worth it? Which is what ultimately council has to answer.
I'm sorry, real quick, the approving the plans and designs for these various projects, I don't remember that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but where is that coming from? There's 4 items on the agenda.
Those projects have actually all been approved already. They're all ongoing projects, and it's having council approve the plan and design through a resolution is actually a step that we take at the request of our insurance company.
So who's on the hook for it, the council or?
How do you mean?
No, I mean, so the insurance company wants who on the hook? Is that what?
Tom can explain that better.
It affords us certain immunities. This is why we do this liability. That's why they recommend that we approve the plan, the engineering plan, and accept it. And then if down the road something happens, it's a legal defense. That's why we do this.
And one last thing on Paramount Enterprises, is that worth talking about, or what happened with Paramount Enterprises and the fall? And is that the project, is that an ongoing project, or?
They never awarded a contract as a result of the bidding process. And as part of the process, the next step, they have to actually sign a contract. They haven't returned it. They have to give us bonds, they have to give us disclosure. They're nowhere to be found. It's the strangest thing. So we got to move on. And our thought at the time was, perhaps we just move on to the next lowest bidder on the list. But given the passage of time, you can't expect bidders to hold their prices forever. So we went to the next lowest bidder and said, we hold the price for you before. And they said, no, I don't want to do that. So now we have to react.
Okay, thanks.
It's a relatively rare occurrence, but sometimes you got to do it.
But you said they're nowhere to be found.
Well, I mean, they're not communicative. They may be somewhere to be found, but we can't. We tried very hard to the end.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you. Sure.
Good evening, Evan Bank, 209 Parrot Drive. Quickie, question, 160 and 165, is that the rainwater harvesting system, is that the stormwater retention basin off by Left Shore?
No, it is specifically the rainwater cistern. Mr. Reagan's discussed this at a couple of different meetings. This is a project that we got the Rutgers grant for, that our Sustainable Morristown people and the project design team applied for, and we received a grant from Rutgers. So that's actually, this project, that's being paid for through this grant.
What is it? Just
It's two
stormwater
components.
off the roof?
There's rainwater will be collected on the roof and collected into a underground cistern that will then provide the water for all the irrigated areas around the building. And it also is for the, what are we planting on the roofs? The sedum trays. There's sedum tray being placed on the roof to also help collect and keep the rainwater, and also it helps to keep the building cooler because I guess somehow.
Yeah.
Is the water circulated by pumps out of the cistern?
Well, that system is actually powered by the solar array that's on the roof of the building. So it's a very green system.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. As long as those harvesting things aren't connected to the water fountains, will be okay. Any other comments by members of the public? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. I'll ask comment for, council rather, for a comment or a motion to adopt the consent agenda resolutions.
Move it up.
Patty?
Ms. Jordan? Yes. Ms. Napolitano? Yes. Mayor Fiacco?
Yes. Moving on to minutes of the meeting. Council, if you had an opportunity to review the minutes, if you have any questions, otherwise I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second, but I have to abstain from April 7th.
Okay. And I have to abstain from July 21st. We only remove it?
I think, Tony, can't you, we adopted the majority of those present, I believe.
Correct.
So,
Okay. All righty. Patty, let it rip.
I'm sorry, can you just tell me again who's abstaining on what? You're abstaining on April 7th.
I'm abstaining from July 21st.
Ms. Jordan? Yes. Ms. Napolitano? Yes. Mayor Fiacco?
With the abstention noted, yes. Approval of expenditures. Council, if you had a chance to review the expenditures, questions or comments, accept the motion to approve the expenditures.
So moved. Second.
agenda. If you have a question regarding that listed on the agenda, please come forward, state your name. Sure.
Mark Hines, 130 Bridgeboro Road, and question about the minutes. Curious, first of all, in the order of minutes, that we have minutes from, I believe in January, that's still not been approved. And then any reason why there's minutes that are over a year old that are being approved tonight?
Well,
Yeah, back there.
I'm not trying to put Patty in the hot spot.
But then-
she-
But rather, I'm really trying to question the order, why not January 1st instead of July?
Mr. Hines, this question comes up quite often, and truthfully, there is no method to my madness. It's just when I can do minutes, I do them. There's no reason, and sometimes someone will specifically ask for a set of minutes because they're looking for something, and I'll say, yep, they're not done, but I'll make sure they're on the next agenda. And actually, one or two in here was that way. So whether it's someone from council or a member of the public looking for something specific, otherwise, as always, I apologize for them. And when Tom brings to my attention, sometimes if they're shorter, I can just knock them out quicker, but.
Okay, and a year ago was just overlooked, or?
No, it's not overlooked. It's just wasn't done yet.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I get emails from Patty, 10 o'clock at night, Saturdays, Sundays, so, it's a fair question, but she does a great job, and I recognize that it's not easy to do them, so, we're patient about it, and as long as they come down the pipe, which they always do, they're always accurate, and,
Please, I don't want to criticize Patty. She's been extremely responsive to anything I've ever asked.
Right, of course.
So,
Yeah, no,
sometimes it's a matter of resources available to do the job.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And so, just this question, maybe to Peru, Scott Peru.
Sure.
Do we have more timely minutes? A little bit of help, I guess.
Well, and that too is a fair question, and one of the things that we did do this year, earlier in the year when we reorganized the staff, was to create an additional position under the Finance and Administration Department. So Patty used to have basically access to the township receptionist, and my assistant would help her when she could. Now there's two full-time people there. One of them is technically the deputy registrar. So the hope there is that because there's a huge work burden there, and even though that every department has a huge work burden, that this would be a place that we could hopefully make things run more smoothly.
Good. And again, just rather to clarify the process rather than to criticize.
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Seeing no further members from the public, we will close that portion, and I'll go to close the.
Sorry. Marion Tony, 11 Greenville Road, Morristown. I took the liberty to go out and copy what is on the plaque by the library and to Google translate it, and it says, "We second guess everything." Joe, you want, I love you.
I will find out.
We second guess everything, that's what it says on the plaque of the library. That will be there forever.
Yeah, I will talk to the architects and to Mr. Galbraith to see who came up with that one. It sounds like it could be members of council, members of the public. I mean, there could be a lot of different candidates that wrote that.
I
Well,
just
we
think
have
it's
a
very
fully dedicated
interesting.
library, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's just government at its best. We'll find out what the.
Okay, I just thought you might be interested. I mean, I went and I looked at it and I said, what does it mean? So I think we need to clarify that.
Well, we might have Mr. Galbraith at the next meeting. Deputy Mayor George is about to bring something up, and Joe will be here, I think, at the next meeting to discuss it. And Joe can give us that then.
Well, go right ahead.
Okay, so, I've been in talks, I have, we're done public?
Yeah, now our closing comments, let's do it.
Closing comments from council?
Yeah.
I've been talking with Joe Galbraith, our library director, and Scott, and Chris. We've been talking about the different options of having a grand opening for the town hall and for the library. And Joe has done a really great job. He is planning on the first week, I guess the second week of September.
It's the
8th.
eighth.
Monday.
Yeah, the Monday.
That's Tuesday, so it's the 9th. It is definitely Tuesday.
It's a
so
Tuesday,
the
so it's 9th. Talking about having a grand opening, and we're going to do a little, like a fundraiser to help the library gain some funds for any extras that they want to do for the library, for their programs and things of that nature. There'll be an unveiling of a Warhol exhibit. Is it South Peltier?
Yeah,
Sal Palantonio from ESPN, Rick Williams, local news broadcaster, and Michael Smarkonish all plan on participating. And you know, Joe's put a lot of hard work, and this is just one of many things the library staff's done a really good job on since moving into the new site. Things are really, between there and the rec center, can't tell you how impressed I am with the activity. But in any case, yeah, what we're looking at doing is something that week as a you know, a public grand opening, because what Deputy Mayor George is talking about is a fundraiser. So it's, you know, it's
Public to be able to come too. So we'll do something in coordination with Joe, and we're still working out all the details, so more will follow. But one thing I did think was really cool was Joe wants to start a film festival and kind of have a films showing, and I think that's really great. It's going to be a super idea. And so there's just lots of things going on. So just keep your eyes and ears tuned to town council and the library, because we will be having more information come out. But I just want to kind of put that on everybody's radar.
Thank you, Stacy. Good stuff. Victoria?
Well, my closing comments are not quite as exciting.
Well, actually, they're taking big. We have a TNT meeting on August 13th. Well, it's exciting. We'll be talking about updating the website, and also the cable channel will be available to us. There's a couple subcommittees that we're working on that. We'll be reporting their findings to the rest of the group, and that'll be at 6:30. I don't know if we have a location for that yet, but I'll put out what we know. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Victoria. My closing comments will be brief. Thanks very much for coming out, folks. Have a good night. We are going to close session, and I'll ask for a motion to adopt standard resolution to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing matters relating to litigation, negotiatings, and attorney-client privileges